All right. We're live. We're live.
It's about time, so no pressure to our enemies. You can try to run where you going, it's your destiny. You gotta fall, never rise, that's the melody. Once you get the wrong, you get another legacy.
Gotta do the shit, when I do it carefully. You can lose everything you own over jealousy. When I met her, I ain't never sweat her, I just let her breathe. See you down, keep my foot on you, that's not my pedigree. At your throat, I done took her oath, I pray I never leave. I'm a different guy, you're surprised, tucked in my sleeve. Boy, you fucking stupid, soldier seek for some bloody beef. True nation, cut the conversation, better keep it brief.
It's about time, so no curses to our enemies. You can try to run where you going, it's your destiny.
Always sip on my own, don't need you all in my song. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding trap on my chrome. Always sip on my own, don't need you all in my song. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding trap on my chrome.
Been out of these streets, nigga trying to eat while the police on family stealing from me. I'm on the phone being a prayer, but white Jesus can't save me. Get him away from me. I don't know what to say. So many niggas hating me. Get him away from me.
Always sip on my own, don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding trap on my chrome. Always sip on my own, don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding trap on my chrome.
Always sip on my own, don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I ride around with my chrome. Always sip on my own, don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I ride around with my chrome. Tryna keep it on the true side, nigga. Laying low to play it cool now, nigga. Ass niggas on the team, I've been known to get the green ever since I was 2-5, nigga. Coop hanging out the roof, nah, nigga. Cause I ain't stunting on them. Put my whole team on so they ain't wantin'. When niggas doing bad, you know that they be hating on you. Get the hoping that you fall, they be waiting on it. Bullshit get bread from the envy. Best friends get to looking like enemies. When you got it in this bank account empty. Perfect recipe to breed a lot of jealousy. Looking from a bird's eye view. Learn from everything I've been through. Told my baby girl, if you ain't spending life with the nigga, never let him put a dick up in you. Cause if a nigga wrong, I'ma check that shit. If we get paper long, never flex that shit. Told my son, when you getting money, never trick it to a bopper, flip it over, then invest that shit. Give a lot of game, trying to bless my kids. Gotta keep it real, that's the best shit. Got hitters up and feel it back in Texas. When I get up on the track, yeah, I wreck shit.
Always sip on my own, don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding trap on my chrome. Always sip on my own, don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding trap on my chrome.
Always sip on my own, don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I ride around with my chrome. Always sip on my own, don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I ride around with my chrome.
Alright, so Shalom, Lord of Christ. You know, this is the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. This is the Feast of Purim. We about to get started now. You know, if y'all got any questions about Purim, just go ahead and drop them in the chat. You know, we're about to get into the class. All right, so we got Trooper Nahali in here. We got King Livingston, A.B. Ames, or whatever. So, you know, we're about to get it on and start. I believe we left off in Esther, the 4th chapter. Was it 5? I think it was 5 or 9. I'm not sure. Hold on, let me see. I think it was, we left off at, yeah, tell whoever that is to hurry up at the door and close that door. So let me see. Let's start at at let me see. Let's go to verse 4.
Are we doing 5 and 4?
Yeah. No, start at 5 and 1.
Go to a car. All right. The book of Esther, chapter 5 and verse 1. Now it came to pass on the third day that Esther put on her royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's house.
All right. Nah, so okay, so Slugger, Zalvor, what's he doing out there?
He went to go clean up that.
All right, yeah. Just in a just quick, just tell him to hurry up. Don't take all day because we got we're doing this class. All right. So at this point, what we bringing out is let me see. Let me get my notes up real quick. All right. Okay, so if anybody doesn't know, King Ahasuerus is from the he's the king of the Persian Empire, and he is Xerxes, Artaxerxes. I believe he's Xerxes the first, and and that's the story that we're reading about, and we're reading about how Esther was able to get into a high position. And through that position, she was able to get her people delivered. You know what I mean? But of course, it was some things that she had to do to make it happen. All right. So let's start at. Let me see. I got it right here. Start at 4 and 1, and then we're gonna back up to 4 and 1, and then 11 to 16. We're gonna just jump around just to bring everybody up to speed.
The book of Esther, chapter 4 and verse 1. When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes and went out into the midst of the city and cried with a loud and bitter cry and came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth.
Mm-hmm. Right. So what's going on here is that Haman had put out the hit on the Jews because he was mad at what because Mordecai didn't bow to the king or whatever, and bow to him rather, and he was mad at that, right? So what he did was he went to the king and he basically got the king to sign off on basically genocide of the Jews, right? And they put money on pretty much on our head as a nation. All right. And if anybody, if you didn't know anything about the Persian Empire was very, very big. It was a big, bigger than Rome. You know what I mean? It was real big, right? And this is what was going on here, right? So let me see. Okay. All right. Go ahead and read 4 and 1 real quick, and then.
You want me to keep going or just?
Yeah, you can keep going.
So Esther chapter 4 and verse 2. And came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. Mm-hmm. And in every province whithersoever the king commanded, or Salakia, the king's commandment and his decree came, there was great mourning among the Jews. Okay. And fasting and weeping and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes.
Right. Go to skip down to 11.
Verse 11. All the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces do know that whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his to put him to death.
Right. So he knows that if she goes into the king without being summoned by the king, then of course there's a good chance that you could die. Well, most likely you will. But unless the king raises up his scepter to allow you to go ahead and speak. Go ahead.
Except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called to come in unto the king these 30 days. And they told to Mordecai Esther's words. Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Jews.
Why is he saying that? Why is he saying that to her? Does anybody know? You want to take a shot at it? Why is Mordecai saying to her? He said, "The Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than the Jews." Right. So don't think that just because you're in that position that this won't come and affect you as well. So he's telling her to basically stick to the mission. Stick to the mission at hand, and also don't get comfortable, because that's what we do a lot in Israel. It's like when we get into a spot, we get comfortable and we don't help the rest of our people, and we don't stick to what the mission is. Usually when a person gets money in Israel, you're supposed to use it to help in your power and your wealth to make our nation better. But, our people don't do that. Go ahead, Matazba.
Right, because it seemed like she was scared. Because remember, he, like a verse or two above that, in verse 8, he tells Esther to make supplication to the king and to make requests before the king for her people, for the Jews. And then she comes back like, well, nobody can go into the king's chamber. Right. He has one law. If you go in there and you haven't been called in there, then you'll be killed.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And he like, what? Man, look, don't think you above the damn being killed. You know what I mean?
Right. Because
we all about to be killed anyway. Don't think you above that. If follow the order pretty much. You know what I mean?
Right.
Handle your business.
Right. And of course, he raised her up, right? The thing is, it's like, like when we get in like positions of power, like it's like we're too afraid. Like you see how Steve Harvey was like, "This the money game out here. We can't do nothing out here. I got to make money." Like, you know what I mean? And he was like, "I'm not about to risk my integrity, you know what I mean, and let my kids fall because I want to have a moment of something he said about integrity or something like that." But he was really what he was doing was he was schooling Monique to tell her, This is the oppressor's game, and he wins, and you just a nigga, basically. And don't do anything to piss them off because it'll ruin your career. Right? Okay, so go ahead. We're going to go down to 16.
16. The book of Esther, chapter 4 and verse 16.
No, 14.
14. Esther chapter 4 and verse 14. For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy fathers.
Right. What does that mean? They'll arise. Okay, he says, for thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place.
If you don't say nothing, then these people are going to get so bold. That's what it seems like it's saying as far as the enlargement and when they come to kill you, it's not going to be necessarily from this place. It sounds like it's saying that like it could happen somewhere else. Like they'll be so bold, like they don't have to attack you here. They'll kill you in another province or another city or another. They'll just start attacking you everywhere.
Not quite, because okay. What it's saying is, it says, for thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. So what this is saying is that if you hold your peace, then and you don't do anything, because remember, the Lord puts us in places to do certain things, and if you don't do it, you know what's going to happen? The Lord is going to move you out the way and get somebody else to do it. You understand?
Time.
All right, we'll break it down.
Come on. So is it kind of like saying, like, when it's saying enlargement or deliverance from another place, meaning that if you don't do it, somebody else will?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And because remember, when the Lord gives us like things that we like, when the Lord gives you like a talent or something that you're supposed to do in the truth, it's supposed to be to move the truth forward. Right. It's supposed to be like to, minister to your people. Right. It's about you use the talents that the Lord gave you to move things forward. And sometimes the Lord might put you in a position to deliver the people, right, but you got to actually do the work. And if you can't do the work, then the Lord will just move you out the sun. Yeah, and the deliverance will come from another place. All right, keep going.
Just from another place, but thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. Mm-hmm. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Uh-huh. Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer. Uh-huh. Go, gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me, mm-hmm, and neither eat nor drink 3 days, mm-hmm, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise, mm-hmm, and so will I go in unto the king, mm-hmm, which is not according to the law. Ooh, wait. And if I perish, I perish.
Now what's going on here?
So she's saying like, basically prepare themselves to fast for 3 days. Her and her maidens will fast for 3 days, and then I guess she's going to try to
4 and 16.
Now, I could be wrong, but well, I mean, she said it's not according to the law. She said she's gonna go in unto the king, so maybe she's gonna try to entice him to try to.
No, well, go ahead and talk about.
Because remember, you can't go. You're not supposed to go into the king unless you've been called.
No, but what I was saying is, it says likewise. It says she will go unto the king, which is not according to the law, and if I perish, I perish.
Right. So you're talking about the king's law?
No. What's going on here with Esther? What's her mind state? No.
Right, because remember, she's going to go in there. She's going to go in there and talk to the king, but she's going to go in there and talk to the king, even though she hasn't been called in to talk to the king. Because remember, they was just saying that if you haven't been called, like the law is that you get killed.
Right, but what is she? Okay, I'll give it to you. Okay, what is she showing?
As far as for Israel or for Mordecai, like she's
just for her, just as a woman.
She thinks that she can,
or she's showing her femininity, or
she's showing courage.
Yeah.
Most women don't do that. Most men don't do that. Even though she knows that she could possibly be killed from doing this, she's still going to do it. And if she dies in doing it, then that's what it is. Right. And that's the kind of courage that we have to have in the truth. You see what I'm saying? Like that's the kind of like a woman. Like, okay, what's going on here is Esther is using her. She's using her beauty for something righteous. You see what I'm saying? What do women use their beauty for today? OnlyFans. Money. When a woman is beautiful today in today's time, she doesn't use her beauty for something that's positive. You know what I'm saying? Or to move our people in a better direction. She uses it to get money out of a nigga. She uses it to go start an OnlyFans page, or she uses it to get lit on social media. Instagram, get her Instagram popping. You know what I'm saying? That's what she uses it for today. But in this time, Esther, she used her beauty because it was going to end up being her delivering her people. And it was going to put Mordecai in a better spot because Remember, this is the time of the Persian Empire. So the Persians are ruling at this time. So this is what's going on here is a power move, and it's orchestrated by Mordecai. It's a power move to put them in a better position later on down the line. And in order for it to happen, she has to do everything that she's instructed to do, and she has to do it without fear because the Lord is going to be with her. You understand? All right, no sweat. Verse 17.
Salakia. The book of Esther, chapter 4 and verse 17. So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther had commanded him.
Okay. You can skip to what was that? 5 and 1. Then we're gonna go 5 and 1 through 8. No. 5, 1 through 8.
The book of Esther, chapter 5 and verse 1. Now it came to pass on the third day that Esther put on her royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's house and over against the king's house. And the king sat upon his royal throne in the royal house over against the gate of the house. And it was so, when the king saw Esther, the queen, standing in the court, that she obtained favor in his sight.
And that too, because like when she walked in, she didn't just like walk in and walk up to him. She just walked in and she waited. You know, she waited for him to acknowledge her first, right? Keep going.
Salakia, if I may add, she didn't just go in there half-ass. You know what I mean? She went in there with royal apparel. She went in there looking good, and he couldn't resist when he did see her. It says, verse 2, it says, and she obtained favor in his sight, and the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. So Esther drew near and touched the top of the scepter. Then said the king unto her, What wilt thou, Queen Esther? And what is thy request? It shall be given thee to the half of the kingdom. Just to, if I may, just to note that, the sister was looking so good and so beautiful that he promised her, like he's saying this right now, he promised her half of the kingdom. Like whatever she would ask, she can get up to half of the kingdom. Then said the king unto her, What wilt thou, Queen Esther? And what is thy request? It shall be even given thee to the half of the kingdom. Like she can get anything she want, even up to half of the kingdom.
Right.
That's crazy.
And the thing is, right, and she's like, I think it was only 2 queens, right? It was Queen, was Jezebel, right? I think Jezebel was a queen, was called Queen, and then this is the only one, but it's not. The queens aren't the custom of Israel for women to be queens. Esther is the queen because she's under a heathen. That was more like heathenistic culture for them to have a king and a queen. You know what I mean? It never was in the culture of Israel to be like to follow after that whole thing. It was just not in our culture. It just wasn't. You would have a king, and then he would have the princes and the princesses. All right, go ahead.
And remember, the only reason why we had kings because remember we had judges, and their brothers was begging for a king so bad because they seen like, I don't know, the Syrians or Amorites or somebody else with a king. We just gotta have that. And the Lord was like, all right, well, here you go. And I think Saul or one of them was like the first king. Yeah, Saul,
and then because that's what we want. We want to be like everybody. It's a hard game, man, when it comes to the 12 tribes, man. It's been a hard game between us, man, because it's like it's been like just disobedience. It's just been like we just want to do what we feel, which is wrong. You know what I'm saying? We got to do what the Lord wants us to do, and we got to just do that. You know what I mean? I mean, we try to do it our way, and our way doesn't work. And you see where our way got us. Our way got us all the way on the bottom. That was crazy. You know what I'm saying? And we can be better. We just got to just do it the way the Lord wanted us to do it. All right. All right. Keep going. We're going to go down to verse 8.
Verse 4. And Esther answered If it seem good unto the king, let the king and Haman come this day unto the banquet that I have prepared for him.
Mm-hmm.
Then the king said, cause Haman to make haste, that he may do as Esther has said. So the king and Haman came to the banquet that Esther had prepared.
Right.
And the king said unto Esther at the banquet of wine, what is thy petition? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? Even to the half of the kingdom, it shall be performed. Then answered Esther and said, my petition and my request is, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and if it please the king to grant my petition and to perform my request, let the king and Haman come to the banquet that I shall prepare for them, and I will do tomorrow as the king has said. You keep going? Come.
Yeah.
Verse 9. Then went Haman forth that day joyful and with a glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he stood not up, nor moved for him, he was full of indignation against Mordecai. Nevertheless, Haman refrained himself, and when he came home, he sent and called for his friends and Zeresh, his wife. And Haman told them of the glory of his riches and the multitude of his children and all the things wherein the king had promoted him, and how he had advanced him above the princes as servants of the king.
A few more scriptures. Go ahead.
Haman said, moreover, Esther the queen did let no man come in with the king unto the banquet that she had prepared but myself. And tomorrow am I invited unto her also with the king. Right,
because remember, it's okay. The Persians had power. This is Xerxes right here. You know what I mean? This is I think it was like Xerxes the first. I looked it up. He was like Xerxes the first or something like that. He, like the Persians, like he had when you read like from chapter 1, he had like a feast that was like 6 months through the whole thing. Like the Persian Empire, I wish I could bring it up, but the Persian Empire was from like Africa over. You know what I mean? It was like damn near the whole thing. But he was able to, what was it? He was able to rule, like the Persians was like one of the biggest in history. But you know who took them down, right? Alexander. Yeah, Alexander, the Greek, took them down. But this showed power. Like they would have like a whole big banquet with like just like, you know, a few people. You know what I mean? And it was just, they just showed their power. And that's what the Lord wants for us too. The Lord wants for us to have rulership of this place. And the things that we could do with that rulership will be beyond belief. But we don't see ourselves as being capable of being in that type of a situation to have world rulership, right? I mean, David did it. I mean, David had a lot of nations that was subject to him, but it was never like on the status of like, you know, the Persian Empire, right? All right. What was that?
If I may,
go ahead.
And you know, they just be pointing out little things about these Edomites too. You know, like as far as Haman was so much on a high because he was invited to this special, the next banquet. Because remember, he went to the first one, and then he got invited to the second one, where nobody else was invited, just the king and him. And so he's so much on his high because he just got promoted, you know, amongst being invited to this banquet, he got promoted and got all this good stuff. So he comes up and he's so much on the high that when he sees Mordecai not give him the respect, he don't even give it to him.
Right.
He don't even give it to him. Like, he's
right.
Like, I don't even care because, you know what? I got invited to this banquet tomorrow that nobody was invited to. So, you know, whatever. You know, it's just crazy, like the arrogance of these people.
Right. Let me see. Okay, let's see. Let's go to 6 and
If I can I read verse 13 real quick?
Yeah.
If I could, just to give the hate, Esther chapter 5 and verse 13, it says, "Yet all this availeth me nothing, so long as I see Mordecai, the Jew, sitting at the king's gate." Because remember, he just got finished telling his family like all this great stuff, and he's like, none of that even means nothing. Like,
right.
If I see him, like his hatred for Mordecai is just
right. Because ultimately, Mordecai has a plan to usurp authority over Haman. You know what I mean? But it has to play out a certain way for it to happen. You know what I mean? And because remember when he heard, Mordecai was the one that overheard the two chamber mates of the king. He overheard them because they were upset when she became the queen.
He heard some people like plotting against the
king? Plotting against the king. You're right. Mm-hmm. Right. All right. All right, look, now the minute we talking about the women and giving the women praise, where the women at? Ain't that crazy? That is a good, but I don't want to hear nothing for the rest of the year. Nothing. All right, let's get it.
They all online.
Yeah, let's get it.
Good with God. This is Esther chapter 6, verse 1. You want to start at 1, right?
You know what? If I felt that, if I ever felt like, man, I don't get enough praise. And the night that they was, right, I'll make sure I was in the house.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It was jam-packed.
Yeah.
All right, so we got, this is the book of Esther, chapter 6 and verse 1. On that night could not the king sleep, and he commanded to bring the book of records of the Chronicles. Mm-hmm. And they were read before the king. And it was found written that Mordecai had told of Bigthana and Teresh. Bigthana and Teresh, two of the king's chamberlains, the keepers of the door, who sought to lay hand on the king Ahasuerus. Mm-hmm. And the king said, "What honor and dignity have been done to Mordecai for this?" Mm-hmm. Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, "There is nothing done for him." Mm-hmm. And the king said, "Who is in the court?" Now Haman was come into the outward court of the king's house, mm-hmm, to speak unto the king to hang Mordecai on the gallows that he had prepared for him.
Right. Uh-huh.
And the king's servants said unto him, "Behold, Haman standeth in the court." And the king said, "Let him come in." So Haman came in, and the king said unto him, "What shall be done unto the man whom the king delighteth to honor?" Now Haman thought in his heart, "To whom would the king delight to do honor more than to myself?" Mm-hmm.
Where you at? Let him know where you at.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 6 and verse 7.
Okay.
And Haman answered the king, "For the man whom the king delighted to honor, let the royal apparel be bought which the king used to wear, and the horse that the king rideth upon, and the crown royal which is set upon his head. And let the apparel and horse be delivered to the hand of one of the king's most noble princes, mm-hmm, that they may array the men with all whom the king delighted to honor, mm-hmm, and bring him on horseback through the street of the city, and proclaim before him, thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delighted to honor."
Mm-hmm. Right, there you go.
So he thinking the king is looking to honor him, so he's setting himself up.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Right. Go ahead.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 6 and verse 10. Then the king said to Haman, "Make haste, and take the apparel and the horse, as thou hast said, and do even so to Mordecai the Jew, mm-hmm, that sitteth at the king's gate. Let nothing fall of all that thou hast spoken."
Right, because the king is rewarding him for him foiling that plot to try to kill him or whatever, and he's giving him the recognition, right? And he's honoring him, right, for what he's doing, and he's saying, like give him the good linen, put the royal, you know what I mean,
Right.
the crown royal. We don't know what crown royal is.
Right.
All we think crown royal is liquor in a bag.
Get the crown royal,
Right.
and put it on his head. All
Right. So okay. So I think we pretty much getting the gist of what's going on. Just read a few more scriptures and then we'll skip. I'll skip it around just for time's sake.
Then took Haman the apparel and the horse, and arrayed Mordecai, and brought him on horseback through the street of the city, and proclaimed before him, thus shall it be done unto the man whom the king delighted to honor.
Mm-hmm.
And Mordecai came again to the king's gate, but Haman hasted to his house mourning,
Mm-hmm.
and having his head covered. And Haman told Zeresh his wife and all his friends everything that had befallen him. Then said his wise men and Zeresh his wife unto him, if Mordecai be of the seed of the Jews, before whom thou hast begun to fall, thou shalt not prevail against him, but shalt surely fall before him.
Mm-hmm.
And while they were yet talking with him, came the king's chamberlains and hasted to bring Haman unto the banquet that Esther had prepared.
There you go.
Oh,
All right. So where we at now?
We're gonna go. We skipping a 9, or we just?
Yeah, we're gonna skip the 9.
Come. Start at verse 20.
No, 1.
All right, come. Now in the 12th, this is the book of Esther, chapter 9 and verse 1. Now in the 12th month, that is the month Adar, on the 13th day of the same, when the king's commandment and his decree drew near to be put in execution, and the day that the enemies of the Jews hoped to have power over them, though it was turned to the contrary,
mm-hmm.
that the Jews had rule over them that hated them.
Mm-hmm.
The Jews gathered themselves together in their cities throughout all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus to lay hand on such as sought their hurt, and no man could withstand them, for the fear of them fell upon all people. And all the rulers of the provinces and the lieutenants and the deputies and officers of the king helped the Jews,
mm-hmm.
because the fear of Mordecai fell upon them.
Mm-hmm. Hold on 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on 1 second. I feel like we skipped something. Hold on.
Good, so like
Chapter 9, right?
kind
I think we skipped when the whole thing came in, how to plot.
it was in 6.
Okay, so
8 and 8. So the Jews is
Definitely been 17.
yeah, let's go there. Flock here.
no,
I went too far. I meant to hit one point and then go to where we was at, but
come.
You went into 7?
now I wanted to go where the actual plan was, like when they were at the banquet, and then Haman ended up getting.
That's chapter 7.
Yeah, come on.
That was chapter 7.
Chapter 7.
And let me see.
I guess you start at 1.
Yeah, I skipped that. Yup.
Okay. So it's the book of Esther, chapter 7 and verse 1. So the king and Haman came to banquet with Esther, the queen. And the king said again unto Esther on the 2nd day at the banquet of wine,
Mm-hmm.
what is thy petition, Queen Esther? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? And it shall be performed, even to the half of the kingdom. Then Esther the queen answered and said, If I have found favor in thy sight, O king, and if it please the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request. For we are sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be slain, and to perish.
Mm-hmm.
But if we had been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage.
Mm-hmm.
Then the king Ahasuerus answered and said unto Esther the queen, who is he, and where is he? that durst presume in his heart to do so. And Esther said, the adversary and enemy is the wicked Haman.
Mm-hmm.
Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen.
Mm-hmm.
And the king, arising from the banquet of wine in his wrath, went into the palace garden. And Haman stood up to make request for his life to Esther the queen, for he saw that there was evil determined against him by the king.
Mm-hmm.
Then the king returned out of the palace garden into the place of the banquet of wine. And Haman was fallen upon the bed whereon Esther was. Then said the king, will he force the queen also before me in the house? As the word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. Oh, it's over.
Yeah.
It's over for your boy. And Harbonah, one of the chamberlains, said before the king, behold also the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman had made for Mordecai, who had spoken good for the king, standeth in the house of Haman. Then the king said, hang him thereon.
Mm-hmm.
So they hanged Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Then was the king's wrath pacified.
Right, there you go.
Good night.
8 and 1.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 8 and verse 1. On that day, the king Ahasuerus gave the house of Haman, the Jews' enemy, unto Esther, the queen. And Mordecai came before the king, for Esther had told what he was unto her. And the king took off his ring, which he had taken from Haman, and gave it unto Mordecai. And Esther set Mordecai over the house of Haman.
Mm-hmm.
And Esther spake yet again before the king, and fell down at his feet, and besought him with tears, put away the mischief of Haman the Agagite, and his device that he had devised against the Jews.
Mm-hmm.
Then the king held out the golden scepter towards Esther. So Esther arose and stood before the king, and said, if it please the king, if I have found favor in his sight, and the things seem right before the king, and I be pleasing in his eyes, let it be written to reverse the letters devised by Haman, the son of Hamadatha?
Mm-hmm.
Hamadatha, the Agagite, which he wrote to destroy the Jews, which are in all the king's provinces. For how can I endure to see the evil that shall come unto my people?
Mm-hmm.
Or how can I endure to see the destruction of my kindred? Then the king Ahasuerus said unto Esther, the queen, to Mordecai, Mordecai the Jew, behold, I have given Esther the house of Haman, and him that have hanged upon the gallows, because he laid his hand upon the Jews. Write ye also for the Jews, as it liketh you, in the king's name, and seal it with the king's ring. For the writing which is written in the king's name and sealed with the king's ring may no man reverse.
Right, there you go. So he reversed everything, and now Haman's whole plot to wipe out the Jews didn't work. Go ahead, Matazapah. You wanted to say something? I thought you was raising your hand.
No. Well, I was raising my hand. I didn't know if you wanted another part on here.
Nah, we're gonna go to 9.
Oh, okay. Or an 8. You mind if I
go ahead?
Get 2 parts? So, like, if I may. Esther chapter 8 and verse 13. It says, remember he wrote the copy and signed it with the king's ring.
Right.
It says the copy of the writing for a commandment to be given into every province was published unto all people, and that the Jews should be ready against that day to avenge themselves on their enemies. It says, and then I'm going to skip down to 15, 16 to 17. It says, and Mordecai went out from the presence of the king in royal apparel of blue and white, and with a great crown of gold, and with a garment of fine linen and purple. And the city of Shushan rejoiced and was glad. And the Jews had light and gladness and joy and honor. And in every province and in every city, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, the Jews had joy and gladness, a feast and a good day. And many of the people of the land became Jews, for the fear of the Jews fell upon them.
Yeah. What you want to say something about that?
No, I was just talking about, we're saying that the feast is coming from. Is that, after this decree and stuff like that, then we started to feast and have, joy and to be glad, because now we don't have these people trying to unalive us wherever we go,
Yeah, you good. This ain't TikTok.
Yeah, but I thought that we were saying that for YouTube.
I don't think YouTube is on that. Yeah.
I thought we were saying that for YouTube.
I think you can say kill. It's crazy.
Right.
But the thing is, it's like they became Jews. Like the people around, of course, they're gonna get down and try to do what we do. I mean, that's because most people do anything out of fear. I mean, let's just say if Chinese people were in control, we'd be selling out to Chinese people.
Right.
If they were the ones who was over top of us, we'd be acting, we'd show up to work with chopsticks and a damn, what's that thing called? A gi. Right. Yeah, we would all have gis on right now. Right. Because out of fear, when people conform.
Right. And just for everybody to understand, is not saying that these people changed their nationality. No, they started following now the customs of the Jews, because now they understand that the Lord is with the Jews.
And they held rank.
Right.
Because now Mordecai is what you would consider, he's like the vice president. Mm-hmm. If you would say it like how today, like a viceroy, like somebody who's underneath of the king, who the king holds in high favor. So like if you was to see Mordecai, you would think you was looking at the king. You know what I mean? Because he was esteemed so high. So it's like, you don't want to, because remember, okay, the Persian Empire spanned across like many nations of people. You know what I'm saying? And all of those nations were subject to Persia. So when you got the king basically giving reverence to the queen, the queen is Jew, and her uncle is one of the top dudes. I mean, you don't want to mess with that, because it could cost you your life, especially back in the time of the Persian Empire. All right, let's skip to 9 and 1, and then we'll just skip around through 9, and then we'll end it there.
Esther chapter 9 and verse 1. Now in the 12th month, that is the month Adar, on the 13th day of the same, when the king's commandment and his decree drew near to be put in execution, in the day that the enemies of the Jews hoped to have power over them, though it was turned to the contrary, that the Jews had rule over them and hated them. Over them that hated them.
Right, and that's how it's going to be for us now. It's a future prophecy. Like we're gonna rule over the people that hate us. No, it doesn't matter how bad black people don't want it to happen, or how bad Hispanics don't want it to happen, because God forbid we ever get to rule over anybody who been ruling over us and who hates us. If you leave it up to black, the leaders of black people, if you leave it up to TD Jakes, black people are going to be getting swallowed up in the kingdom forever. Right. And we're always going to play the role of servant. You know what I'm saying? And that's not what the Lord wants for us.
Right.
We just have to make sure that we the type of people that deserves to be in that position. All right. Keep going.
So like, where we
was at 9 and 2. And then I'm going to skip you up to, I believe it's 16.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 9 and verse 2. The Jews gathered themselves together in their cities throughout all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus, to lay hand on such as sought their hurt, and no man could withstand them, for the fear of them fell upon all people. And all the rulers of the provinces, and the lieutenants, and the deputies, and officers of the king, helped the Jews because the fear of Mordecai fell upon them.
Yeah. So, and then, other nations, they'll try to join you. Right. You know what I'm saying? When they see that, we got the power, we haven't got the power. So that means that we got work to do, because a lot, you'll have, people thinking that we got the power now. And so, we can just go ahead and just do nothing when that's not true. We ain't got no power to do anything. So we got to still work. We got to still make sure that we're doing everything to put us in a position to actually have and get power from the Lord. Right. Until then, it's time for you to keep working. Right. Keep. You wanted to say something?
Like,
go ahead.
I believe that's in Deuteronomy 4 where it talks about that our enemies will they'll come to our,
yeah,
out of the fear.
Yeah. Right. Of course. Like our destruction is everybody's gain in this place. Like everything we do wrong is somebody's there to get money off of it. Right. All the way down to a woman's hair. You know what I mean? All the way down to her fingernails, all the way down to the anything that we do. The other nations benefit off of it. You know what I'm saying? Even toilet paper, like wiping your funky behind, somebody is benefiting off of that. Right. You know what I mean? And it's not us. Right. Right. Go ahead. The water.
For Mordecai was great in the king's house, and his fame went out through all the provinces. Mm-hmm. For this man Mordecai waxed greater and greater. Thus the Jews smote all their enemies with the stroke of the sword, mm-hmm. and slaughter and destruction, and did what they would unto what they would. Mm-hmm. And they did what they would unto those that hated them.
Right. Skip me up to 16. No, skip me up to 16. We're gonna go to 22, and then 26 to 28.
All right. This is the book of Esther, chapter 9 and verse 16. Mm-hmm. 9 and verse 16. But the other Jews that were in the king's provinces gathered themselves together and stood for their lives and had rest from their enemies and slew of their foes 75,000. But they laid not their hands on the prey.
Oh, go. Where was you at?
This is Esther chapter 9 and verse 16.
Okay, let me see. Read one more time.
But the other Jews that were in the king's provinces gathered themselves together and stood for their lives and rest from their enemies and slew of their foes 75,000. But they laid not their hands on the prey.
All right, what does it mean? See, you didn't even have to ask the question. I just knew you had a question by the way you read it.
Come on. They all right. So they killed their enemies, mm-hmm. but they didn't kill all.
They didn't lay hands on the prey.
So
who's the prey?
They are
Israel.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. That's why I was like, but why would they? It's the Jews. Why would they lay their hands on their own people?
Right, because they were the prey.
Right.
They were the prey at one time.
Okay,
so they killed everybody else, but they didn't lay their hand on the prey.
Right. Gotcha. All right. I just wanted to make sure I read that right.
You read it like the prey.
I'm like, wait a minute.
All right, no sweat.
Verse Esther chapter 9 and verse 17. Mm-hmm. On the 13th day of the month, Adar, and on the 14th day of the same rested day, and made it a day of feasting and gladness. Mm-hmm. But the Jews that were at Shushan assembled together on the 13th day thereof, mm-hmm. and on the 14th day thereof, and on the 15th day of the same they rested, and made it a day of feasting and gladness. Mm-hmm. Therefore the Jews of the villages that dwelt in the unwalled towns made the 14th day of the month Adar a day of gladness and feasting, and a good day, and of sending portions one to another. Verse 20. And Mordecai wrote these things and sent letters unto all the Jews that were in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus, both nigh and far, to establish this among them, that they should keep the 14th day of the month Adar.
Let them know where you at.
This is I'm in the Esther chapter 9, verse 21.
And what we reading about, man? We're reading about a sister. What was Esther's real name? Hold on. Her name was. Hold on, Salakia. Hadassah. That's her real name. Esther is just you know how like you had like what was that? What was David's name was what? I mean Daniel's name was Belteshazzar, right? Yeah, Belteshazzar or something like that. And then but his real name was Daniela.
That's like a transliteration of Daniela.
Right.
Like
Daniel, yeah. Right. But his slave name was the hell is it? Belteshazzar, yeah, Belteshazzar. Yeah, Belteshazzar, whatever. It's here. It's Esther is just her name. You know, like a name, like how you would get, like growing up or being being under a captivity, like we are here in America. Like our names, even like when we come into this truth, my name is Tazaiwan, but in the world, yeah, I have a slave name that is in line with America. You know what I mean? Or some Europe. To be a brother, your last name is McDougal. Then that's it's something crazy going on there. That's a slave name, right? Yeah, McDougal or McDowell or McDowell or McClafferty. That's not a real. That's a slave name. All right, but her name is Hadassah or whatever.
Esther.
Yeah, Esther's real name. Go ahead.
Come on. But when Esther came, hold on, Salakia. We was at 21, right?
Mm-hmm.
Salakia. Let me go back up. Was we at 21? Yeah.
Yeah, you at 21.
Salakia.
You wasn't none in the refrigerator?
Yeah.
All
right. To establish this among them, that they should keep the 14th day of the month Adar, and the 15th day of the same yearly, as the days wherein the Jews rested from their enemies, and a month which was turned unto them from sorrow to joy, and from mourning into a good day, that they should make them days of feasting and joy, and of and of sending portions one to another, and gifts to the poor. And the Jews undertook to do as they had begun. And as Mordecai had written unto them, because Haman the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of all the Jews, had devised against the Jews to destroy them.
Okay. Where was you at?
I'm in 24.
Okay, so go to 26 to 28.
Okay. Did you want me to say they had cast?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, and had cast per. You said 26?
Mm-hmm.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 9 and verse 26. Wherefore they called these days Purim, after the name of Per.
Say that one more time.
Wherefore they called these days Purim, after the name of Per.
We forgot about Purim,
right?
Because we too busy celebrating Valentine's Day,
right?
I mean, Valentine's Day, they make so much money off of that nasty candy.
Right.
I mean, that candy is horrible. And they make $1 billion off of it every year.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you feel compelled. And I know y'all saw them brothers in those department stores, you know, with those big bears and the balloons and, you know, what's that? The roses. All that, man. And you see brothers stacking up on it because if you go home without it, you're a bad husband, right? And then just think about how much more money you save by being in the truth and being on the Bible. Man, I saved so much money. Just think of how much money you wouldn't have in your pocket if you was going out trying to keep up with all Esau's holidays. He got a holiday so that you never rest. When you really think about it, like step back and think about it, right? Right after this one, right? Well, the one that it already passed, right? Which was Valentine's Day. The next one is St. Patrick's Day. Right. You know what I mean? St. Patrick's Day, right after St. Patrick's Day. That's in what? In March, right? So right after that, what's the next one after that? Like April, then it's like May. What's the? I know it's some. I done forgot all of them, but you know, it's plenty of them like throughout the years that always keep you paying into it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's there to never give you any rest throughout the whole year. And then usually by the end of the year, once it gets to around October, you know, you're pretty tapped out, but you got to still go and get more candy. You know, you got to go buy that candy and, you know, and it just keeps going on throughout the rest of the year. And then you just be broken and it just, the cycle completes itself every single year and it just keeps on going on. Go ahead.
I think I remember, I think it was you, or it was somebody that said we learned about, like, you know, during Black History Month, figures that only helped America.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But here, right now, we're reading about two Black figures, man and female, who, you know, helped the nation of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, specifically, you know, helped us.
And then you think about it, man, like a pastor reads the Bible, right? And he just negates all of this. Like, he can't be reading it. I mean, I don't see how a person could read the Bible. The whole Bible is about the Israelites anyway. It's not about nothing else but the Israelites. So how can you even read a book like this and then see all the different things that they've done, like, you know, all throughout history of the whole Bible and not even consider doing none of it? It's just completely it's just here. You know what I mean? The only thing that matters in the Bible to a pastor, to the Christian church is God sent his only begotten son.
Yeah.
That whoever believes shall not perish but have everlasting life. That's it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's like the works of the Israelites are here, but they teach that the Israelites are gone.
Right.
Like the Israelites are gone, but all their history is here. And so, you know, what do we do with their history? We take their history and we just follow one portion of it. You know, one sentence out of the whole damn history. We just follow one sentence, and then that somehow, you know, makes us them with like this whole spiritual Israelite thing. You know, that like we long as we just believe that Jesus is the Christ, now we're the Israelites.
Yeah. and guess what? You know, what's his name? You know, the Jays, they take the Bible. They take the Torah, the Tanakh, or whatever, and they use it to run the whole planet. Did you see how Gaza, it was like I seen one of them, like, it was like a computer generated like thing, and they show how they were bombing it, and then everybody went to this part of the Gaza. Then they bombed that. Then they went to another part. Then they bombed that. And now they in like this last little part. And they tell them they got to get out of there too. Yeah. So like they're taking the Bible and they're using it to try to lay claim on Palestine.
Right, and they're saying that you can't tell me nothing about what's going on here in, you know, Israel and Gaza, because this pertains to our people. This Bible has to do with us. It has nothing to do with y'all. You know what I mean? Right.
And we wouldn't even have to do, like, you see how like they gotta use the bombs to be able to get where they want, right?
Right.
All we gotta do is just separate. And that will be enough right there, because everything would fall. If we just think of how like the pork industry would fall if we just stopped eating pork. if we just stopped just saying, you know what, we're not eating that no more. They would have so much pork. They would be trying to push pork so hard that it would be like, you know, they had, you know, cinnamon in it. it would be on a whole nother level. They'll try to put pork in, you know, your drink, anything. Right. To get rid of it because they wouldn't be able to sell it. Right. You know, at that high level like they do now.
And they use, if I may, Tazaiwan, they use the Bible to separate. They use the Bible to be racist, to love their people and nobody else. But they're not on the Southern Poverty Law Center for a hate group. Right. They literally use the Bible to say, I can't say they use it the same exact way we use it, of course. Right. You know what I mean? But you get what I'm saying. The gist right, but they look at it. They use it to say that we're above everybody. Everybody has to bow down to us. Right. God is only with us. We're the God's chosen. And we're all goyim. Right. Y'all goyim, y'all cattle, and nobody puts them on the Southern Poverty Law Center. But we'll come and we'll say the same thing. We're the Israelites. God chose us. We're above everybody. No interracial marriages, stuff like that. Southern Poverty Law Center, hate group. You speaking about you're speaking against homosexuality. Because you're right. It's because we look at the Bible as it's just a white man's book, right? But it's not, because the people that say that are just people who heard that before. Like if somebody says that the Bible is a white man's book, tell them where in the Bible can you prove that? And they wouldn't be able to tell you. You know what they'll tell you? They'll be like, well, it's written in English. That's why, because it's written in English. You know, that's because it's a spirit. You know what I mean? It's the number one book on the planet that has never been read. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody just doesn't read it. Even the pastor, he doesn't read it either. And you know what we do? We go to church because we put trust that the pastor read it. And we trust him. So whatever he says, that's what we gonna do. But really, he's setting up the kingdom of heaven, and he's not allowing you to be able to achieve and be able to understand it, because the Bible is in parables. You know, like, I was just talking to Captain Yacht to talk about this. This how Christ went to camp. Christ go to camp, be like this: red fish, blue fish, two fish, blue fish, knick-knack, paddywhack, get a dog a bone. All right, y'all, shalom. All right, we're going to get up out of here. And he would leave. That's how Christ taught. You know what I mean? Like, red fish, blue fish. You know what I mean? And then the disciples would be like, man, that's heavy. That was heavy right there. You know what I mean? And then they would say, hey, you know, when you said the red fish, and he said, like, well, the red fish is, you know what I mean? That's the Roman Empire. You know what I'm saying? The blue fish is the nation of Israel. You know what I'm saying? He would break it down to people. But the pastors, they reading it, and they like, red fish, blue fish, knick-knack, paddywhack, give a dog a bone. Okay, so that's saying that he wants us all to come together. Because, see, the dog bone, it represents the nations coming together. You see what I'm saying? And that jacks everybody up, because you don't get the right understanding. So you have a nation of people who are literally being held up by the pastors. The pastors are literally holding everybody back. And they're the stumbling block that's stopping people, well, our people, from getting the truth. And that's why it'll never happen. Now, I pray the Lord allows it to happen, but long as them pastors are in the way, you know, people still listen to T.D. Jakes. I was on TikTok today, and the dude, like, I unfriended him because I'm like, I unfriended him because he shared something from T.D. Jakes. I'm like, I don't want to see this. And he shared it like it was like heavy, like what T.D. Jakes was dropping was heavy. And I'm like, he must not have. I know he saw that viral. That video about Swallowed Up is so viral that everybody is like, I seen a video with Chris Brown. Chris Brown was like, yeah, we're walking through the house, and I just be like, you know, have you ever been swallowed? Have you ever been? And I'm like, damn, even the celebrities are like making fun of it. Like,
That's how viral that clip is. Everybody, if you've seen that clip, you can see that T.D. Jakes is effeminate.
Absolutely.
He's an effeminate homosexual. And then, like, if you watch that video, like right before he said that, he was like, you know, if you could just come out the closet, you know, and you could just, you know, if I would have been, I was like, what? Like, you can hear the demon, you know what I mean? The demon just was coming up, like, and then it just went into it. And that was, you know what I'm talking about? Y'all see the whole clip?
He said that he was going to like come out the closet.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, you know, you ever just, you know, just feel like you had to come out the closet, and then, you know, I would have been, you know what I mean? And I was like, damn, like you could see the demon like trying to come out, but he had to compose himself because he was standing in front of all those people. And if you can't see that, then you can't see nothing in the fourth dimension, because that demon is just right there. You know what I'm saying? And the way he was walking, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, and he had the purple robe on.
How you wrapped himself in the purple robe and was holding it back to his lips.
And people were like, and remember I told y'all I was in the liquor store, and the dude had T.D. Jakes playing on a loudspeaker in the liquor store. Black guy, he's the clerk, and you know he's in the liquor store at a certain time in the afternoon, and he's playing this, so everybody in the store that's coming in to get liquor is listening to T.D. Jakes' sermon. And you know, it's like our people still think that he's dropping jewels, and he's not. But that's what we about, man. We're talking. This whole last 2 days is about Esther, Queen Esther, a sister that was beautiful, and she used her beauty for something good, right? She used her beauty for something righteous. You know, our sisters today, what they use their beauty for? OnlyFans, right? Get lit on Instagram, right? A lot of that is just all vanity anyway. Yeah. Because if you got 1 million followers and you can't get everybody to send you $1, then what's the point? It's just all vanity at the end of the day. But that's what we celebrating here, man. The Feast of Purim, we're supposed to be celebrating it every year. How, a sister foiled a plot for the genocide of our people. And that's why she's in the Bible. You can also go to the Apocrypha, and you can actually read like the prayers of Esther when it's continued in, I think it starts at like verse 16 or something like that. In the Apocrypha, Esther continued. Go ahead.
I was about to say one last thing, Tazar, is, just to remember that Haman was an Amalekite. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And we dealing with Amalek today because, of course, Saul didn't, do what he was supposed to do. And Amalek now, the same descendants of Haman and all them, they are following Purim.
Right.
As if they are the Israelites and somebody else is Haman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right. It's crazy.
Haman, he the one dropping bombs, getting them out of out of Amalek, getting the Palestinians out of there. Yeah, that's all. That's Amalek. But yeah, man. So I just wanted to go. Anybody got any questions about Purim or anything like that? Yeah. Yeah. Like I remember growing up, man. I was like I was born in 81. I saw the last of like the black businesses in the neighborhood. Like I saw like the last of that. Cause I remember when it used to be like Walt's Chicken. And Walt was in there. You remember that? Walt was in there with the all white on, with just barbecue sauce over everything. Walt was in there getting it on. You don't see Walt. Miss Francis. We used to go to Miss Francis and get the sandwiches from Miss Francis. That was that, you know. Now, you know what black business is? Huh? What you say? No, not McDonald's. Yeah. Black business now is, you know, the soaps. You know. Yeah, soaps, oils, you know, African soap. African soap, that's what it is. You know how I know? We went to the Black Expo in Indianapolis. You go on the Black Expo, that's all you see is, if you want to get your skin together, you can go in there and get some soap, like out this world. You know what I mean? But, you know, that's what it pretty much, and then you can also look at the Department of Interior, and the statistics show that black business in America is less than 1%. So it's really just a brother with a truck. You know, and you just, you know, go ahead and haul this trash out of here for you. You know what I mean? But that's because we don't follow the scriptures. That's why because we don't follow the scriptures. But I think pretty much everybody got it. And, you know, drink up, you know, eat up. We in the Feast of Purim, all right? So I think that's it. Go ahead, we're gonna salute out. Men of Israel, Majim. One matter of fact, I'm gonna turn the class over to Precinct Officer Matazapa.
All right, we're the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. We start out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander General Yohana. Rules for new brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to learn and shut themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, they are to seek counsel from the heads, tithes, which is a commandment. You can read more about it in Numbers chapter 18, verse 21, and Malachi 3, 8 through 10. 10% of every penny of any increase that the Lord gives you is your tithes. All right, we have a priest fund. It's a free will offering for the priest. It's not mandatory. It's whatever amount you would like to give. Upcoming holy convocations. Which one is the next one, y'all?
Passover.
The Passover. Okay, that's April the 20th. If you don't have everything prepared, make sure you get your room, get your garments, get everything that you need to take care of, and pay that Passover fee if you have it.
Do it now, like
done it already.
Do it now. Like, don't wait until we get to the week of the Passover and you talk about you don't got a ride. Don't do that. This year, don't do that. You know what I mean? When we all about to pull out and we got a brother saying, "Man, I don't got a ride." Yeah. Work it out now. Work out where you're gonna stay at now. Don't wait until the week of the Passover to start figuring everything out, because when you put that burden on your brother or your sister, that's being unbrotherly. You know what I'm saying? So work it out now.
All right. And with that being said, if anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, start wearing all black, boots, shirt, pants, headband, and scarf. And Amajim, we already there. Been to Israel, Amajim Shabbat. Amajim. Barak.
Yahweh Shem Yahushua B'Katah.
Yadi Matah, Sar. We'll get the sisters a courtesy salute. Sisters, Amajim. Been to Israel, Amajim Shabbat. Amajim. Barak.
Yahweh Shema Alatham Shem Yahushua.
Yadi Matah, class dismissed. That was good. All right. Ooh, that's crazy. I didn't even watch